Good evening and thanks for joining us. Day 16 of the partial government shutdown, day 2 of negotiations between the administration and congressional staff. And the president says he doesn't expect much progress this weekend. On his way to meetings at Camp David this morning, President Trump told reporters he believes the 800,000 federal workers and contractors going without pay will be able to manage.
I can relate, and I'm sure that the people that are on the receiving end will make adjustment. They always do.
On his return this afternoon, the president again said he might declare a national emergency to get the wall built and said he has new instructions for his staff.
I informed my folks to say that we'll build a steel barrier, steel.
Joining us now from Washington, D.C. is Damian Paletta, White House economic policy reporter for The Washington Post. Damian, let's talk about this. As we head into week 3, what are the kind of longer-term concerns about what's going to be funded and what's not?
This week will be a very important one because Friday is the first paycheck that 800,000 American federal workers are going to miss. That's the first paycheck, of their furloughed status. They will not get paid, and so that's going to have an immediate impact on not just those 800,000 people, but also on their family members and, of course, the government contractors who also are not getting paid. So that's kind of the near-term pain we're expecting this week. And then as we slip into February, some more, monumental things happen, whereas food stamp money is expected to run out for 38 million Americans. And also the IRS and the Treasury Department right now are scrambling to figure out what they can do for those 40 million or so people who are planning to file their taxes in February and are expecting huge tax refunds. As it stands now, those will not be paid until this is sorted out. So there's a lot of things that are happening quickly, and this is going to begin snowballing politically for the White House.
So the U.S. Department of Agriculture is the one that administers the food stamps, right? I mean, we're talking about not people that are living for free on this, but these people, working people that are getting benefits. What kind of impacts are they likely to see, and how do we prioritize who gets the limited funds?
The Department of Agriculture runs this program. There's 38 million recipients. A lot of them are children. A lot of them are elderly people. This is what they rely on for their food. And there's never been a situation before where the money's been cut off. It's always kind of reappropriated by Congress in a bipartisan way because this impacts people in every state. And so I think what they're wrestling with right now is whether they just have to give a haircut to everyone. You only get 60% of the money you're supposed to get because that's the reserves they have for 1 month, and after February there would be no money. Or do they, reapportion it so that just the elderly would get, the money and everyone else would get cut off? They haven't sorted that out yet, but these are the things, as this shutdown drags on, they're trying to resolve. They didn't anticipate it would go as long as it has.
And when it comes to the IRS, most of the IRS is furloughed right now, and the people who file early are likely the people who are going to get refunds, right?
Absolutely, yeah. If you're getting a text, if you owe money, you kind of wait till the last minute in April. But if you're getting a refund, you file early. And the earliest you could file last year was January 29th. Last February of 2018, $140 billion in tax refunds, that's billion with a B, was paid out in the month of February. As of the IRS's plan last year during a shutdown, they would not pay any tax refunds while Congress has not funded their agency. And so we're in a situation now where they have to decide, do we not put that money out back to the taxpayers, like $140 billion, or do we reverse ourselves and possibly a legally dicey decision and pay that money out, even though we have a skeleton staff that maybe isn't able to kind of check the dots and dot the I's and cross the T's. So that all those things are happening at a frenetic pace right now because, like I said, they did not expect it to get to this point.
Yeah, we should remind viewers that those $140 billion in taxes or all of that money that goes through food stamps, that has a ripple effect on the grocery stores that don't get the money, or most people don't just put it all in their savings account. They turn around and spend it for the needs that they have. You and your colleagues have also been writing about the Park Service. What's happening there?
Yeah, it's really interesting. So during shutdowns, even though the national parks is kind of a small part of the federal budget, they become the public face of the shutdown because so many Americans go visit national parks, Statue of Liberty, et cetera. And so right now what we've seen is the first major reversal by the White House during the shutdown. They have reversed themselves and are planning to reopen parts of the parks that had been closed and add staffing because it was getting unsustainable, the amount of trash that was piling up, the bathrooms that were, getting very unsanitary. And so they're going to try to add staff back using the fees they collect from people that are entering these parks. Now, it was deemed, just a week ago that they could not legally do that. Because you're not allowed to use the entrance fees to pay the staff and things like that. That has to be appropriated by Congress. But they've decided that they need to do that, they have to do that, And so we're expecting a political fight over that as well. But that's what I'm trying to say. These are the sorts of flash decisions they're trying to make to minimize the impact of the shutdown. But a lot of these things are unprecedented, never been tested, and it's unclear how it'll work.
All right, Washington Post's Damian Paletta joining us from Washington tonight. Thanks so much.
My pleasure. Thank you.